How do we describe commitment? And commitment appears in various forms. We can have commitment in our careers, commitment in our personal relationships, and commitment in our personal lives. So commitment appears in several forms. When I did some research, I realized commitment really is described as an HR variable, and persons say that it is very difficult to define commitment. But I still got a few definitions, and I just want to share two of them with you. Oh, okay, before I get into the commitment, I saw Karim had the overview. So today we'll really be looking at the definition of commitment, types of commitments, how important is commitment in our lives, how do we manage commitment, and are we responsible for the level of commitment that we experience? So yeah, we will go into the definition of commitment. So the definition, although they said it was difficult to describe, but there were two definitions that I felt I needed to share with you. One was back to where we were. Back. Definition, the first one is from the Oxford Dictionary, and it says that commitment is the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause or a policy. And another online source says is a willingness to give your time and energy to something that you believe in or promise or a firm decision to do something. I think we can conclude that commitment is a stabilizing or binding force, or really it's a mindset which directs behavior. To show how commitment can contribute to improving performance, we can use the commitment of persons towards the organization. That is the bond with the organization. In that case, we can define commitment as the bond persons experience with the organization. And by organization, I am referring to work or otherwise that you may be associated with. So for example, a voluntary organization or social organization, whatever organization that you are involved with. And it is said that persons who are committed to the organization generally feel a connection with it. Persons have to feel they fit in and they feel they understand the goals of the organization. The added value of such persons is that they tend to be more determined in their work, show highly production, and are more proactive in offering their support. To improve people's commitment, you must understand the varied types of commitments which exist. And in the research, I found that there were two researchers, John Meyer and Natalie Arlin, who developed a commitment model in which they identified three distinct types of employee commitment. And these are affective commitment, which is an affection to the organization, normative commitment, which is a sense of obligation to stay, and continuous commitments, which is a fear of loss. The researchers have effective commitment, affective commitment as an affection to the organization that occurs when you feel a strong emotional attachment to the entity and to the work or activities you are involved in. They said that you are most likely to identify with the entity's goals, values, and you genuinely want to be there. If you are enjoying your work, you're likely to feel good and be satisfied with your job. This increased job satisfaction is likely to add to your feeling of effective commitment. When there's an effective commitment, you feel valued. You act as an ambassador, and you are generally a great asset for the entity. I also tried to relate this effective commitment to our awesome organization, Toastmasters, and realized for most of us, there is an affection to Toastmasters. We identify with the goals, the values, we like the activities that we are involved in, and hence we are generally there to stay. And I'm sure a lot of you will agree that we always say in Toastmasters that we are here to stay. And with your experience at the various conventions, you'd have met persons who would have told you they have attended more than 20, 30 district conventions and international. Likewise, there are persons who are in the 70s, 80s, even disabled people come with the wheelchairs. So that's the affection that you'd find for your organization. That's what would help you get to or attend so frequently those activities that your organization put forward. So I think effective commitment is easy for us as Toastmasters to identify with, because we ourselves have that affection for Toastmasters. Won't you agree, members?
Yes.
Okay, great. The second type of commitment is normative commitment, or the sense of obligation to stay. It is said that this type of commitment occurs when you feel a sense of obligation to your organization, even if you are unhappy in your role, or even if you want to pursue better opportunities. You feel that you should stay with your organization because it is the right thing to do. It is believed that the sense of obligation can come from several factors. You might feel that you should remain because the organization has invested money or time in your training. You can also feel guilty leaving because of the void you may create in knowledge or skills, which may increase the pressure on your colleagues. These feelings may negatively influence the performance of employees working in the organization. This sense of obligation can also result from your background. For example, your family might have stressed that you should stay loyal to your organization. And I'm sure most of us can identify with this statement, because I can recall as a young adult in the public service several years ago, joined in the early 80s. And my father always insisted that I remain loyal to the service, I remain in the organization. Well, for him, he also saw some benefits. And really and truly, you know, as obedient people, obedient child, I served more than 35 years in the public service. But now with the new generation, it's difficult to get persons to have that sense of loyalty. Because my son is in hospitalities and I can't get him to be as loyal as I was. Anytime there's a better opportunity, he picks up and moves. So it's different with different generations. The third type of commitment is continuous commitment or the fear of loss. It occurs when you weigh the pros and cons of leaving. You may feel that you need to stay because the loss you would experience is going to be greater than the benefit you think you might gain in a new role, or we may say it is not worth it to leave. These perceived losses can be monetary, can be a monetary loss or salary or benefits. It could also be a professional loss. So for example, it might be seniority or role-related loss, or even a social loss. The friendships you developed, you can end up losing them. The severity of these losses often increases with age and experience. You are more likely to experience continuous commitment if you are in an established, successful role, or if you have had several promotions within one organization. Continuous commitment relates to how much employees feel the need to stay at the organization. In employees who are continuous committed, the underlying reason for the commitment lies in the need to stay with the organization. Possible reasons to stay varies, with the main reasons relate to lack of work alternatives and remuneration. They feel that their salary and fringe benefits won't improve if they move to another organization. So what are the core values of your organization? Do they encourage you to stay? I am sure some of us have more than one occasion looked at organizations we are part of and questioned why we are in there. Core values. Whether it is work or voluntary organization, we examine the core values and decide whether we want to be associated with this organization. Again, here I will bring in Toastmasters, our core values: integrity, respect, service, excellence. Do we serve with integrity? Do we live up to the Toastmasters promise? That includes attending club meetings regularly or help maintain a positive environment. Do we respect members and understand that each person is different and has his or her own skills, goals, and ambitions, and strengths and weaknesses? What about service? Do we step up when required to help the club function? You can leave it on core values. What about service? Do we step up when required to help the club function as a stellar learning environment for the benefit of all members? Do we focus on the planning and delivery of an environment and a varied program conducive to member achievement? And excellence, are we performing to our optimum every time or at every opportunity? Values drive culture, and values drive action. And as we learned, commitment is action. So I'm confident that we all want to be connected with these values, and thus, as we often say, we are in Toastmasters forever. So what is the importance of commitment? Where are we there now?
Am I on the right slide?
Core values, importance of commitment. Importance of commitment. I think you need to go up. No, importance of commitment. That's like slide number 9. Yes, this one. The one, yeah. Yes, this one. Yeah. What really is the importance of commitment, fellow Toastmasters? We can say that commitment determines how we perform. It brings added value to the organization, and it improves quality of work that we perform. Commitment is regarded as an important forecaster of employee loyalty and the performance of an organization. The pressure of an organization to perform is increasing constantly. So for example, with globalization and other factors, competition is tougher than before. This increased pressure has resulted in the commitment of employers towards employees becoming less of a given. The concept of a lifetime employment has also become outdated. These days, organizational units that perform badly are easy to be reorganized, thus leading to job loss. And I'm sure a lot of us in the Caribbean would associate with that. In addition, employees who perform poorly are more likely to be made redundant. Employees therefore see the need to feel bound to the organization and display positive behavior. When it comes to added value, committed employees bring added value to the organization, including through their determination, proactive support, relatively high productivity, and an increased awareness of quality. They are also less likely to call in absent or leave the organization. However, non-committed employees can work against the organization and hold back success. How to manage commitment? Next slide. How can we manage commitment as leaders? We can grow effective commitment. We can reduce reliance on continuous commitment. And we can decrease dependence on normative commitment. According to the researchers Meyer and Allen, applying the 3-component model, we can help maintain and develop a greater positive, effective commitment in our team members. When you do this, people are likely to feel an increased commitment to the team and the organization, and they will probably feel more positive and more motivated and experience greater job satisfaction. It is therefore critical to grow effective commitment and reduce your team's reliance on continuance and normative commitment so that you are leading a team that feels positive, passionate for the roles. Team members with only continuance and normative commitment may feel bored and unmotivated. We know that no one wants a team with those attitudes, definitely. Even at our club, if we have those kind of attitudes where people are bored or unmotivated, we see how our club suffer. These team members may also block enthusiastic employees or team members, or even leave them with lower morale. To ensure positive changes, ensure that you are linking people's goals with those of the team organization using an approach like management by objectives. It may also be appropriate to see whether you can better align your team's roles with their skills and interests. It is important to assist people find purpose in their job. Remember that people are more likely to develop effective commitment if they experience positive emotions at work. Doing what you can to help people flourish is a great way to encourage people to thrive and to enjoy the work that they are doing. Also ensure that you give praise regularly and create a healthy workplace so that people are happy and productive. Reduce reliance on continuous commitment. Then you need to also decrease dependence on normative commitment. In addition to assisting people experience greater effective commitment, researchers say that we also use the model to carefully manage the amount of continuance and normative commitment that people may feel. We can reduce the dependence on continuance and normative commitments by being a better leader, by working on our own general team management skills, and by thinking carefully about how our actions might influence our team members. Our role should be to get team members to be happy and enjoy their work without making them feel uncomfortable during the process. We should also bear in mind that people will likely experience continuous commitment at some point in their careers because they will feel that they need to stay in their job to receive pay and benefits. Some people will also feel a sense of normative commitment as the institution has invested in their training and development. An organization can benefit from people's commitment, however, they should be, okay, so we are saying that organizations can benefit from our employees or team members' commitment, but it should not be something that you force or you seek to create, but one that should come as an added bonus. So once people are happy and they have that effective commitment, then the other forms of commitment, like continuance and normative, will just disappear, and the organization will benefit from the effective commitment. So in looking at commitment, some people also looked at commitment versus attachment. And we ask, is there a difference between the two? personally, I'm not sure, but there seems to be a slight difference in commitment versus attachment. It is said that most persons confuse commitment with attachment, and in forming our relationships, our careers, and general life choices, we often avoid commitment to avoid attachment. And I'm sure you'll hear people would say that all the time. I don't want to be committed because I don't want to be attached to her or even to the job. Some people who are more working for pay will tell you, me, I don't want to be attached to that job. So that means they're going to avoid commitment because they do not want to have that level of attachment with the organization. So commitment really is described as active, the next one, commitment, is described as active. So when you're committed to something, you are making a conscious decision to pursue it, and you pursue it with your whole heart. You want to be dedicated and you want to give it your all. Commitment is supposed to be a choice. When you commit, you are making an active decision to do so. And attachment, on the other hand, is described as being passive. When you are attached to something, you are not actively choosing to be. It happens on its own without your conscious permission. Similarly, when you are attached to something, you cannot just choose to be no longer attached to it. While you can detach easily, no, I don't think you can.
I'm on the wrong slide. Oh, I think your mic is muted. Unmute you. Yeah.
Let's look at commitment in our organizations or in our careers. Commitment versus attachment in our careers. Sometimes, even when we fail to meet our targets at work, it does not mean that we are not committed. Sometimes, in spite of our best efforts, outside of our control, in spite of our best efforts, there are forces outside of our control that can prevent us from being successful. Where are we now? What's our responsibility?
Yes, our responsibility.
Yeah. As members of various entities, I want us to consider our level of commitment to the success of our organizations. Do we truly have a sense of affection for the organization because we can relate to its values and genuinely want to be there? Or are we there out of a fear of loss, which is continuous commitment? Or is it out of a sense of obligation to stay, normative commitment? We have a role to play in the level of commitment which exists, both as employers and employees, or even as members of an organization. As a Toastmaster, I am sure that we all can relate to the values and want to be part of our Toastmasters movement. What are we doing to assist Toastmasters, our clubs, our areas, or our divisions to succeed? And honestly, I don't think we should say we are simply a member. and we leave it up to the people in position to do the work for the organization to succeed. And some of us say that both for work and in the voluntary organizations we are part of. And earlier we spoke about how commitment can lead to improved performance. It can bring added value and improve quality. How can that happen if we as members do nothing? As a member, do we participate in the program? It is true that we say it's a self-paced program, but does it mean that we should do nothing at all? No speeches, no meetings? And I'm sure you would have heard it over the years that sometimes people come to meetings and even refuse to take up a role in the absence of the assigned role player and tell you, I really came to meeting to observe today. Are we one of those? Are we one of those, even if we see persons are absent for 3 or more meetings, we do nothing about it? Do we call them and encourage them to return? Do we encourage them to present, to do the speeches, to follow the program? Even with our pathways, if we are more technologically savvy, do we show another member how to get on, how to sign on, how to do the assessment, or what to do if they don't like the assessment? What do we do? What is our role as a member in the organization to ensure that our Toastmasters succeed? Or are we one of those who complain about everything the executive does? What about our function? Do we take up any of his function at election time? Do we accept the nominations when persons nominate us, or even volunteer to serve in an office? What is our role? What do we do? How are we going to ensure that we keep our level of commitment and ensure that our Toastmasters organization succeeds? And really, I can see at each level of Toastmasters, I can see how our level of commitment can propel our club's organization to excel. As an area director, does it mean somebody have to force you to meet the deadlines? Are we going to take up our roles seriously and even go the extra mile to ensure that our clubs perform exemplarily and attain all 10 goals? And are the members in our clubs motivated because they see that we care? There are 2 compulsory area visits a year, but do we do just the 2, or do we go out and do a little more? What about our role as division director? Are we truly committed to the cause and keep the team motivated? For me, it doesn't really matter what level we are appointed or elected to serve in. I think the key is to gain or retain affection to the organization and ensure that we do all within our power to succeed and to keep the members of the team motivated and enthusiastic all the time. As leaders, we can use the model to help our people experience a greater level of effective commitment while making sure that we don't misuse continuance or normative commitment to keep people tied to the team. In fact, the team will function better if it thrives on the energy that we provide to allow effective commitment to grow. What are the results of commitment? It is said that commitment leads to action. So I think it is safe that we can say, as leaders, if we have a committed team, then it will translate to a motivated team that will ensure that all the goals of the organization are met. With committed people, you are certain to see an improvement in productivity and the quality of the work which is produced. In fact, my experience in the government service for the more than 45 years that I served, I saw it happen several times. Anytime people were demotivated and you took some action, you made some changes, maybe with the equipment, with the leaders, you showed employees that you were truly concerned about their well-being. You found out how they were doing and what it was that you could assist with. Then definitely I saw that people's level of effective commitment grew and immediately translated to increased productivity and quality of work. There was less wastage and jobs were completed ahead of schedule. In fact, sometimes you don't have to ask persons to go an extra mile. They became proactive and took the initiatives or even made suggestions, whether it was solicited or not. It means that as managers, we have a significant role to play to grow effective commitment and lessen dependence on continuance and normative commitment, thus creating a healthier environment where people will excel, and of course the organization will succeed, making it a place where everyone wants to work rather than experience a high level of absenteeism and turnover. So what are we going to do about increasing the level of commitments in our teams? And what are your thoughts on commitments? What do you think commitment is all about? So it's now your turn to share your thoughts on commitment. So Karim, you will unmute them as they want to speak, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Oh, that's my portion or my thoughts and research on commitment. And I just want to hear what you think it is all about, or how you think it is that we can assist our team to be more committed.
Yes, so at this time, you're open to unmuting and asking any questions. Let me any questions? Let me check in.
Any questions, any thoughts you want to share on commitment?
Well, I have a question. What strategies would you use to motivate a board when it comes to commitment on the club level?
When it comes to a board?
Yeah, let's say as a president and you want to motivate them to be more committed to their roles. I know my experience with being on boards, you have a lot of issues when it comes to commitment.
Yeah.
People take on a role, but then, you know.
Yeah. So I think several things will come into play. From the onset of the board, from the inception, you can create a charter so people know what it is that you're getting into and what their contribution would be. So you create that charter with them. But it's also important to find out what's affecting that board as you go along. Maybe persons are, something might have demotivated them, so find out what it is. And apart from the general board levels, sometimes it's good to speak one-on-one with persons. So in that case, if you realize it's a particular member, then you call that member privately and find out what it is that is affecting the member, and show that you're concerned, and find out how it is that you can assist while this person is going through what it is that they're going through. And sometimes too is the bond between members. So you also need to find ways to create a bond between you and your team members. So maybe when you meet, you can have, apart from just the seriousness and the work, then you can also have some social activity to bond you all together. And so that can help increase the level of commitment. So there are a few things that you can do.
Okay. Any questions? Check the chat. Also, I wanted to know if someone is, let's say, in a board setting is not committed, as a president, should the president take steps in maybe removing the person, or what would you suggest?
Yes, the president can't take steps in removing that person. If there's nothing else you can do to help that person improve, you can ask the person to resign. And if they don't, then you ask that the person be removed. You take it to the general membership and ask that the person be removed, because they would have been elected by the general membership. So you take it to the general membership and ask that the person be removed when there's nothing else that you can do.
All right. Any questions?
Okay. Well, if there are
And
no thoughts, no questions,
let's see.
then I'll sign out.
Let me check in the chat. Okay. Just hold on 5 more minutes, see if any questions comes in.
Okay.
And in terms of when starting a new club, there's a whole procedure, and sometimes you have a test meeting and then only 3 candidates, for example, show up.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suggest, that you continue pursuing it, or what would you suggest in that case? Let's say there's 20 people sign up, prospects, but when you
Yeah.
have the test meeting, you only have 3 people or 2 people.
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
I would say give one other opportunity, because maybe that day was not convenient to everybody. And if at the second opportunity you get the same result, then I would say don't burn out on something that may not work.
Okay.
Because it just shows the sign of what's going to come in the future. If on the onset, then that's the level of commitment that they have, then it means in the future you may suffer even more or be burnt out very early.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So with that, I don't see any questions. So at this time, I'd like to thank you for doing that first presentation. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you and express my appreciation for being invited to present, and for the members who attended. And I trust that there were a few points that they can take to help us become more committed persons and see how we can ourselves get members to improve on their level of commitment.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.